We have but one choice. This game must be taken into the fiery pits of the internet. One of you must do this. I will take it. I will take the Two Towers video game to YouTube. Though, I do not know the way. You have my sword, and you have my bow, and my axe. Nice. Can I play as Gandalf, though? No. Oh my god, this wig is so terrible. This has got to be the worst wig that I've ever purchased. Can you tell I'm Legolas? Probably not. The early 2000s was a golden age for movie-based video games, mainly for Star Wars and, obviously Lord of the Rings. And I think the culmination that always exemplifies that for me is the Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. This game blew my expectations away. Not only because it somehow was able to perfectly capture that feeling that you got watching those movies, but also because it was just a fantastic video game, which was already difficult enough for the time. I mean, there was plenty of games that were at best mediocre, and there had been multiple Lord of the Rings video games that were at worst completely unplayable and should just be rounded up and thrown away so we never have to think about them ever again. Now, to be honest with you, I really expected that going back to this game after all these years, it would not hold up well at all. And while the combat itself does feel pretty dated compared to games like Shadow of Mordor and Jedi Knight Fallen Order, it still plays really well and is really easy to pick up and go. And as a kid, my favorite character was always Gimli. I really loved the dwarf, so I'd usually try to play as him, but I feel like he kind of plays the worst out of the three characters, mainly because he's the slowest, even though he technically does do the most damage, I think. Legolas is pretty bad too because his daggers are super short. Aragorn is clearly the best because he has the bow and he has the sword and he can just kind of do whatever the fuck he wants. So as an adult, I gotta say I love Aragorn just because he's the easiest. But I really loved Gimli, and for a while I was really into Legolas. And I think the reason is because I was really into archery at the time, and Legolas was the master of archery. And in this game, he shoots incredibly fast, and as long as you upgrade his bow like at least once, he can just insta-kill everything. I was playing through the Mines of Moria level, and I was like desperately trying to beat it with Aragorn, and I kept on losing, and I'm like, fuck! I kept on getting him almost all the way dead, and then he'd just like kill me, or I'd do something stupid and I'd lose and have to restart the whole thing. And then I was like, I'm gonna try it with Legolas. And he's just like, bam, 5 shots, he's dead. It's over. I'm like, what? I do not remember it being this easy as a kid. He shoots so fast, and he does so much damage. I mean, no wonder why I loved Legolas. No wonder why I loved archery. This guy's like a sniper, but he's got a machine gun. Yeah, so he's pretty good. So I guess from that standpoint, it kind of makes sense that his daggers really suck in the game. Because, I mean, for one, they would suck because they're daggers. I mean, what kind of moron would bring daggers to a sword fight? You'd have to be a fucking idiot, Legolas. But also, since his bow is so incredibly powerful, you kind of need to nerf him. Otherwise, he would just be amazing. I mean, can you imagine if he was just like, if he just had 2 long swords, like, like 2 of Aragorn's swords, and he was just like, ah! He would just destroy everything. I mean, he'd be unstoppable. He's got the bow, he'd have the swords. It'd be game over. Gimli, on the other hand, yeah, I don't know why I ever liked him. What I love is they needed to give him something ranged because both Legolas and Aragorn have the bow, and there's certain areas, such as with the troll, where you have to shoot something. So they just give him little hatchets to throw, and it's hilarious. He's just like, he does it surprisingly fast. I mean, I feel like throwing a hatchet's pretty difficult. And I know because I've done it before. And I was terrible at it. But nonetheless, this game broke some social barriers because it was one of like the first games that I could actually openly talk about at school without being beat up outside the lunchroom for talking about nerdy stuff. Even though everybody played video games back in the day, because I don't know, I guess you're only supposed to like things that have to do with kicking a ball around. Because, yeah, that's not lame at all. What actually surprised me, though, is this game actually came out 1 month after the Fellowship of the Ring game that I talked about previously, which I could have swore those games came out like a year apart, but apparently not. Now, both of these games I love dearly for very different reasons, but this one, I have to say, is significantly better than the Fellowship of the Ring game. And it makes me kind of feel bad for those guys who are developing that game, because I'm sure that a lot of people like myself were confused because they just assumed that's the old version, and then want to get that garbage. They want the new thing that everybody's talking about. What I think is even more mind-blowing too is that the Hobbit video game that I also did a video on released a year after the Two Towers video game, and in comparison, that game is hot garbage. I mean, in reality, it's not that bad, but when you think about what video games were releasing at the time, and the fact that the Two Towers video game was already out, and the Return of the King video game was on its way, The Hobbit just did not stand a chance. The only downside I really have to say about this game, aside from it, you know, not looking as great as I remember, is that it's incredibly short. I really did not remember this game being so short, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense considering the fact that I remember playing the same levels over and over again, and that's mainly because there just aren't a lot of options. And the other levels that I remembered hating, I can definitely see why I hated, mostly because, I mean, one of them's just a really terrible boss level, and the other one is just, like, really boring. But, you know, whatever. There's this moment while you're playing where you kind of get stuck during the Rohirrim level. And you're like, oh no, what do I do? How do I progress forward? And all of a sudden this Uruk-hai knocks this old man over a balcony. And he lands in this fire and puts it out. You just gotta walk by him like, thanks, old man. I appreciate your sacrifice. One thing I do have to say is this game is also a lot harder than I remember. I mean, it's not to say it's actually that difficult, but I do remember just plowing through it, and that's probably because I played it so many times, I just knew all the things that you needed to do. And going back to it, I was just like, what the fuck? How do I defeat this troll? How do I defeat this weird Uruk-hai man? I don't understand. And also, seemingly like the best attack you can possibly do in the game is just the double triangle combo, which destroys pretty much everybody. And even though they have a light attack, you can barely use it because literally every single character blocks the light attack. So it's just like, what's the point? I don't understand why this light attack exists. It's no good. There's also an attack where you can charge up your sword, but literally you never have time to charge it up. I mean, it's supposed to be an amazing attack, but like, you start charging, and then either by the time you're done, none of the characters will be near you, or they'll just hit you while you're charging and cancel it, and then it's just like, why'd I even bother? I might as well just done the double triangle and killed these people and been done with it. There's no point! It's pointless! I remember as a kid that there was always this rumor that if you beat enough of the game, you could unlock a secret character of Gandalf, and I was super stoked about that. I was like, oh my fucking god, I get to play as Gandalf. I saw him on this level, and he was so awesome. Did you see him? He just shot lightning, and it was like, pow! And I was like, fuck! I want to play as that guy. So I just played this game over and over, trying to level up everything, trying to find everything possible to unlock the secret character of Gandalf. And eventually the secret character you do unlock is a seal door, which is cool, but considering the fact that I was hoping it was going to be Gandalf, I was disappointed. I mean, looking back on it, Isildur's pretty sweet, and I'm happy I got him, but you know, fuck that guy. Apparently, though, this was a pretty popular rumor. I was looking up on the forums, and even as recently as like 2 years ago, there was people asking about this, whether it was true or not. And still to this day, people have no clue what the hell, where the hell that rumor came from, why it started, or if it was even possibly, like, supposed to be true. A lot of people think that Gandalf was actually going to be a character in the game. I don't know if that was actually true. I'm sure probably at some point they discussed it. But my guess is people just got confused during like a trailer or something and it just blew out of proportion. I don't know. As a matter of fact, for a long time I actually believed that Gandalf was a real character, but that you could only get him on the GameCube version. Which apparently was not true. So that was disappointing. I was really looking forward to showcasing you guys Gandalf. I guess even up until a week ago, I still thought he was real. So yeah, this game has a very special place in my heart. And even though I'm sure part of it has to do with nostalgia, replaying it again was still incredibly enjoyable, and there's a lot of moments where you just feel like, damn, I mean, I can totally see why it was ranked best action on the box. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to do one on the Return of the King sometime soon, because apparently a lot of the memories that I had as a kid actually were about that video game and not about the Two Towers, even though I think personally I have to say I like the Two Towers better just because it was the first one. It's a little bit more nostalgic for me, even though I probably played the Return of the King significantly more. And also the fact that the Return of the King actually did add Gandalf. But I think at that point it was almost disappointing because it was like, yeah, you know, I had a whole year to hype myself up about Gandalf and he's just kind of whatever, to be honest.